I'm Alan Spears with Occupy Democrats, and in some breaking news, Bill Maher is once again proving that he is one of the most controversial figure in politics, especially on the left, as he was doing an interview on his show the other night and attacked Kamala Harris, and it completely backfired on him. Now, Bill Maher is a very fascinating figure in politics, especially considering where he sits on the political spectrum. You may hear him say something and find yourself agreeing and think that, yeah, he's kind of spot on with that, but then he'll turn around in the very next sentence and seem like he's sympathizing with Donald Trump, or he's saying something completely outlandish or unfounded. Now, in Maher's slight defense, he is not afraid to invite guests onto his show that he definitely disagrees with, especially Republicans, and he will sit there and call them out on their crap and blast them directly to their face. Take, for example, when Maher decided to blast Republican Dan Crenshaw to his face about Donald Trump taking over the Republican Party.
The Trump administration is more moderate and more in line with what more people want in America, and the outcomes are just better.
And by the way, it's a little odd, isn't it, that the Republicans had no former presidents, vice presidents. There was no Mitt Romney there, no Bush, no Dick Cheney. And I feel like I've never seen a convention where the party just disowned its complete past like that.
Yeah, well, again, doesn't really matter. Do we put on the best show? I don't know. I know we have better policies that have better outcomes.
It's an indication that you have made a clean cut with what republicanism was up until Trump.
Now, not only is Maher not afraid to attack Republicans directly to their face, he's also not afraid to call out the absurdities in politics, such as RFK Jr.
RFK is pulling out, although it's a little murky. He says he's still on the ballot in some places, but he did say, I am giving my endorsement to Donald Trump. For those of us who are a certain age, who grew up with the Kennedys, I mean, to have a Kennedy endorse not just any Republican, but the worst one ever.
So clearly, Bill Maher is not afraid to speak his mind. However, that is increasingly becoming more of an issue and coming back to bite him in the ass. Now, this does bring us back into our breaking story today. As I mentioned earlier, Maher decided to go on the offensive against Kamala Harris and had the audacity to compare Kamala Harris to Donald Trump with regards to how they handle press. I want you to go ahead and take a look at this clip for today's breaking story and see for yourself the bizarre and completely baseless attack that Maher launched against Harris and how it completely backfired as Kaitlan Collins from CNN came to Harris's defense.
What do you think about the fact that Kamala doesn't talk to the press? In a way, I feel like it's more insulting than what Trump does. Now, Trump says you're the enemy of the people, which is pretty bad. But she's kind of saying I don't need you. I'm not talking to you. You don't matter. You're not relevant anymore. To me, that's even worse than I hate you. It's like I don't think about you.
I don't know if it's worse than denigrating the press on a daily basis, which is what Donald Trump did. I mean, I covered him in the White House every day as a correspondent, and oftentimes to kind of shake you if you were asking him a question, he would try to get into a personal argument with you, or just deny or lie about what you were asking about. And so I don't know if I would compare the two. I do think she should talk to the press. I think anyone who wants to have access to the nuclear codes should be willing to sit down and take questions. And we'd love to have her on the show.
I'd love to too, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
We'll see who gets her first.
Well, I think she'll do you before she does me.
Does it even need to be said how wrong Bill Maher is? Does it even need to be said how Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not the same, especially with regards to how they handle the press? And Harris is certainly not worse than Donald Trump. It really does seem that Maher is trying to resort to outlandish or controversial statements to maybe drum up viewership for his show. I don't know if his ratings are dropping or viewership is dropping, and this is just a means of him to try to rake back in some views, but it's not going to work in the long run for him. This is ridiculous. Now, it should be noted, too, that Harris is really late to the game. She has only been the presumptive and now confirmed Democratic nominee for about the past month, whereas a lot of these presidential campaigns leading up into an election can last well over a year, if not two. The very fact that Harris is only going to be able to officially campaign for just a handful of months really does speak to the wonders of how effective she has been, considering she's leading Donald Trump in every major national poll. And quite frankly, she doesn't really need to hold any major press conference because she is going to the people directly. Again, Harris is trying to cram in well over a year's worth of work into about a quarter of the time. To me, it makes perfect sense that she hasn't held a large-scale press conference yet. But again, she has spoken to reporters. We've seen her do this. So to try to compare Harris to Trump is, again, this is foolish. This is a false equivalency, and it's just proof that Bill Maher is continuously falling out of touch.